Hey guys, today we are talking about the smokescreen that toxic people, malignant narcissists love to use, and it's an acronym called D.A.R.V.O, which stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse Victim and Offender Roles. Honestly, I made a video on this topic like the first year I started my channel. And the reason was because of something I noticed in relationships. So have you ever had this happen? Where maybe the person you're in a relationship with, and this could be a significant other relationship, it could be a family relationship, it could even be a work relationship, but they do something that, doesn't sit right with you. And so you do the normal thing, which is to mention it, right? And rather than have a normal conversation, everything gets twisted and turned to the point that at the end of the conversation, you're apologizing. Have you ever had that happen? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain how toxic people, namely malignant narcissists, love to use this tactic for that very purpose. So that the second you are kind of whistleblowing or calling them out for their bad behavior, everything gets twisted and turned to the point that you actually feel like the bad guy. So just a tiny bit of information about where this term came from. This term was coined by Dr. Jennifer Fryde in 1997. And she stated, and I quote, "The perpetrator or offender may deny the behavior, attack the individual doing the confronting, and reverse the roles of victim and offender so as to turn the whistleblower into an alleged offender." And the people that wind up being on the receiving end of D.A.R.V.O are people that try to point out bad behavior in somebody that may or may not be a malignant narcissist. So why am I talking about this? In my face-to-face coaching, I get a lot of clients that are in relationships with people that sadly believe that manipulation is synonymous with love, right? So as they're explaining to me the dynamics that they're facing on a regular basis, I'm listening to what they're facing and I'm seeing their reaction. And when you don't understand D.A.R.V.O and you don't understand the purpose, you don't understand the reasons or the logic, if you could call it logic, behind D.A.R.V.O, you wind up reacting in ways that leave you feeling awful. So I'm going to give you just an example of how I often see D.A.R.V.O showing up with my clients. Let's say one person is in a relationship, right? We'll use an intimate relationship for this one. But you're in a relationship with somebody that's always in a bad mood, or that can suddenly become in a bad mood like in 2 seconds, right? Everything is fine. There's not even a reason as to anything happening to cause a bad mood, but suddenly the person you're in a relationship with flips emotionally from everything's fine to suddenly there's this air, something in the air that something's wrong, right? But nobody knows what it is. And the person who's changed their mood never explains, but it's like this thing you're supposed to figure out, okay? And let's say you want to call it out. And you want to say, hey, we're on our way to this wonderful place. I'm feeling some negative energy. Is everything okay? So you are doing something that is normal. You're noticing a behavior. It's affecting you, and you are bringing it to the attention of the other person. If you wind up getting D.A.R.V.O'd, the answer from that person would sound something like, why are you asking me that? You're such a critical person. All you ever do is look at the negative. You're always looking for a problem. Can't you ever just enjoy, what's going on instead of trying to find something to fight about? Now, obviously that was like that person's last intention. They did not want to start a fight. They just kind of wanted to understand what was going on. But now they've reversed the problem to being, you have a problem. For anyone that is inexperienced in D.A.R.V.O, in the sense that you have no idea what's going on, you will probably try to handle the situation as you would with a normal person or somebody that's not a manipulator. and that is to explain yourself more. And now, instead of being focused on their bad behavior or their negative energy for no reason, you're now defending yourself. And you might say something like, I'm not trying to start a fight. That's the last thing on my mind. I just want to understand what's going on. And of course, the person that is doing the D.A.R.V.O is going to continue to reinforce the fact that you are causing a problem by calling out their bad behavior. If this sounds familiar, and you're like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what's happening in my life, then you have to understand that and especially if you're noticing that it's a pattern, then you have to understand that you are falling into the trap of D.A.R.V.O if you are losing focus of the original problem. If you wind up putting the focus on yourself and only yourself, and especially if you apologize for something that is normal. Okay, so what are you supposed to do? Okay, if you realize that every time you bring something to the attention of the other person, they make you feel like you're doing something wrong, the first thing to start doing to change the dynamic, and you have to change the dynamic, because if you don't, you're going to always be left feeling horrible after every conversation, after every D.A.R.V.O, okay? So the first thing to do is notice it, okay? As soon as they change and they make you the problem, simply because you're saying, hey, you're yelling and I don't appreciate being yelled at. As soon as they make it that it's your problem for saying something, you notice it. There's D.A.R.V.O. Now, you don't say that to them, okay? Please keep this in your head, but you notice it. So that's the observe, don't absorb. The second step is to not fall for it. Don't provide explanations to people that really aren't listening, okay? So if you say, I don't appreciate your yelling in front of the children, and they start to say that you're the one that's the problem, rather than continue to try to prove to them that it's them, you have to move from observe, don't absorb into the broken record technique. As I said, you're yelling in front of the children. I'd really appreciate it if we can talk like adults. They're going to do it again, because now you're changing the script. You're not falling for the D.A.R.V.O. So they're not ready for that. So they're going to keep on. And you stay with the broken record technique, saying less and less, if possible. Like, I already mentioned the problem. I already let you know what I was thinking. By doing that, you don't fall into the trap of defending yourself, which always feels like you're in quicksand and you're just getting buried in layer upon layer of conversation that doesn't make sense. Okay, so it keeps you from that. It also keeps you grounded in your original point of the conversation. You don't lose focus. I can't tell you how many times I've heard clients tell me that by the end of the conversation, they apologized and they couldn't even remember what the original thing was that they were upset about. So by staying grounded in those two tools, right, the observe, don't absorb, and the broken record technique, you stay grounded in what the original focus was. And the third step, in order to really be able to apply the first two, is that you really need to learn how to trust your perception. Okay, because if you are with somebody that manipulates, if you are with a malignant narcissist, then they are going to twist your perception. They are going to twist your reality. And if you don't know how to hold on to your perception, then you're going to feel like you're living in the twilight zone. Okay, so the way you strengthen your trust in your perception is by validating it within yourself. Okay, if they're in a bad mood all the time with this weird, dark, negative energy, and you say, you know, I'm feeling some negative energy from you, are you okay? And they deny it. And they say, oh, you're just crazy. You're just looking for problems. I'm not angry. Meanwhile, veins are bulging. You can sit, that's the time where you have to validate your reality. So-and-so says that they have no negative energy, but I'm here, I'm present, and I can see it. They're allowed to have their reality. I'm still allowed to have my own. And then you have to just practice doing that in your life over and over. Practice reaffirming and validating your reality so that when the other person tries to twist it, you don't get lost. For anyone that's working through these dynamics and is struggling to feel like their feet are on the ground, please remember that I always leave links to my coaching services in the description box below. If the free videos aren't enough and you feel like you need more, make sure you check out those links.